Hey, it's Dave and Christopher from the Camera Store, and today we're talking about a brand new Pentax film camera.
The Pentax 17.
All right, Chris, a little while ago, we did an episode on a brand new film from Harman called Phoenix Film, and I said to myself, hey, I will give film another shot, and not long after that, Pentax comes out with a brand new film camera, something we haven't seen in a long time. What's this all about?
Well, like you said, this is just about our first film camera in almost 20 years. Following some of Pentax's previous naming conventions, it's the Pentax 17.
This is a half-frame camera, meaning that you're only getting half of that frame, a 17 by 24 millimeter negative, hence the name. So there are a bunch of film cameras on the market. I mean, there's millions of film cameras from the past that are still out there you can find, and we do have some new generation cameras, but they generally are really sort of low quality, sort of almost disposable quality film cameras. So what's the big deal with this camera?
Well, this one, we've got an actual premium compact. So while we've got a lot of used cameras on the market, certain shooting film isn't hard. This is the first premium compact we've seen in a long time. It's absolutely packed with features. I'm really excited about this one. Let's get into it. Okay, so here it is, the Pentax 17, which my favorite feature about this is how pocketable it is. It's super small. It really fits into that compact range of cameras. You can go into a jacket pocket. Really, it's no bigger than the phone you're carrying right now. This can be taken with you anywhere. It's a really easy to use, fun camera, but it doesn't feel cheap. It feels, in fact, really nice. We've got a magnesium top plate, a magnesium bottom plate. It's got a good weight to it, and I really like the grip. It handles well. We've got a zone focus. We've got a mode select dial up top that's going to let you switch between flash and program modes. We don't have a full manual mode, but we get pretty close to it. We've got a film advance lever. That is the one you cock forward. This one, in fact, is almost exactly the same as the one from the Pentax 110 camera. And we've also got a traditional rewind. We don't rely on motors to bring those out. ISO select dial as well. So you do select your ISO manually. This does allow you to push and pull film with this camera. And we've got a wonderful, nice big viewfinder. I think that's probably my favorite feature. Up on the top plate here, we've got an exposure compensation dial, which is a feature you don't see in a lot of more point and shoot oriented cameras. Pentax has really put a lot of very classic features into this camera. It's lightweight, it feels premium, it's easy to bring around with me. I'm very excited about this release.
Now, in a recent episode, I said I would give film another shot and try it out, and I'm going to be shooting some Phoenix film today in this great place here in Horseshoe Canyon here just outside of Drumheller. But what it's like to shoot film again, I mean, I don't get that instant feedback, so it's a whole different experience. With this camera, though, I do have the ability to go into full auto and just sort of walk around and just sort of click whatever I want to take a look at and make that work. But if I want to play with the limited controls of this camera, I certainly can. I flip over to the program side on the white dial here, and now it allows me to change my focus. If I want to specifically shoot macro or specifically shoot landscape, I can certainly change the lens over and make that work. Now, it is a 25 millimeter equivalent lens, so it is pretty wide. So keep that in mind. Now, we do have a bokeh mode on the dial here, but basically all that does is lock the lens wide open at 3.5. It is a wide angle lens, so don't expect beautiful creamy background blur like you're going to get on a nice 85 1.2. But that's just the nature of this and the fun part of it. Now, something I'm really enjoying on this camera, sounds so simple, but it's so beautiful, is this film lever here. You take a shot, it's very quiet. I don't have that annoying motor sound, as Chris was mentioning, when I push the button down, as we had so many point and shoot cameras we had through the 80s. You push the button, you hear this annoying whirring sound. This camera is incredibly quiet, and it's somewhat satisfying to click that film lever over, get that next frame ready to go. Now, something I'm finding when I'm shooting with this camera that's taken me some time to get used to is that I see the world in a much more horizontal kind of pattern. This camera here is shooting the 17 by 24 frame, hence the name of the camera, but it's all vertical. When I look through the viewfinder here, it's up and down. And it's very interesting because half-frame cameras weren't really that popular way back in the day. They've tried a bunch of different models over the years, and they've never really caught on. But that was back before the days of cell phones and social media. Now everybody watches the world in a vertical kind of format. So I think this is going to adapt really nicely to modern photography. So if I want to shoot horizontal, I have to hold the camera vertical. So this is something that's kind of messing with my brain, but I'm getting used to it more and more. Now, when looking through the viewfinder, a really nice touch, if I want to get it out of the auto mode, is when I look through the viewfinder here, it shows the very top of the lens here, and it tells me which focal mode I'm in, and I can see, am I in the right mode that I want to be in when I'm taking the picture? It's a really nice touch, and it's a very classy feature from Pentax. Now, something else I appreciate about the design of this camera when I'm using it and looking through the viewfinder here are the two LED lights just to the right of the viewfinder, a blue one and an orange one. If everything is going great and it's fine, the blue light illuminates and you're ready to take a picture. But if you've forgotten to wind your film, for instance, that's a big problem with these cameras, and I've done it a few times already today, the yellow light will flash warning you about this. Overall, when it comes to using this camera and playing around with it and the function of this camera, it's very simple, but it's a lot of fun. And I think that's the whole point of this camera, is that we are having a lot of fun shooting film again. And I like what Pentax has got going. Their form and function on this camera, they've really nailed it. All right, Chris, you've had a chance to play with this camera for a little longer than I have, and you put a couple rolls through here already. I mean, aside from taking 48 or 72 shots, which takes a little longer than you might think, actually, what are you finding the results are like?
Honestly, really good. We've got a very, very modern lens design here with very modern coatings. That leads us to a very sharp, low flare, low glare, high contrast images that really punch and pop. I've been loving shooting black and white film.
I mean, part of the reason I think you love shooting black and white film is the ability you can put filters on it.
Absolutely, you can slap a 40.5mm red filter on there, and if you notice, the light sensor up here is actually going to fit into that filter, so it's going to meter for you and still be correct.
Now, some features I didn't expect on this camera was not just the macro mode, but they've actually done a very cool thing. The wrist strap itself is the macro level. This is how you measure how far you need to be away from that. Just slightly past the end of the string here will give you where your macro focus distance is. That's a very trick little feature.
Another feature you're going to see in this camera that you don't see on a lot of compacts is a bulb mode. So you can do long exposures with maybe an ND filter and get soft waterfalls or moving clouds, moving prairie grass. I think we might be doing some of that on the way home.
Yeah, now the trick with that though is that the camera's not going to help you out with that. You need to meter it separately, whether you're using an iPhone app or using another camera to kind of get the exposure and then kind of playing with that on your own.
Now, with a half frame camera, you aren't getting as much resolution as you would out of a full 35mm frame, but with this modern lens, with its modern coatings, it's exceptionally sharp and I've seen very good results.
All right, okay, so overall, I think you love this camera. I mean, I don't think I've seen you this excited. I've seen you play with like 100 megapixel cameras, right? And you're just like, yeah, whatever. Oh, this camera shoots 40 frames a second. Yeah, whatever. This camera shoots as fast as you can wind it, and it takes a week to develop and even longer for you to scan it. But you're more excited about this camera than I've seen with a lot of other cameras. Why is that?
Absolutely, it's something totally different than we've seen in a long, long time. And I've seen film go through ups and downs, and mostly it's been downs. We've seen a lot of cancellation of cameras, we've seen cancellations of films, and here today I'm standing reviewing a brand new film camera in 2024, which frankly is something I never expected to be able to do.
Now, how are you adapting to the vertical format of the half frame?
It's pretty cool. Once you've adapted to that vertical shooting format, you can make a lot of really good images, and you can always flip the camera up over and shoot a horizontal if you want, Dave.
I mean, I was joking, I'm surprised they haven't come up with a horizontal grip. So it is a bit of a change of mindset when you're shooting with this camera, but I think the more you shoot with it, the more you start seeing the world in a vertical kind of format, and you can't wait to watch it on your phone or share it with other people through social media.
Absolutely, and the vertical format combined with the size and the shooting modes, I think this really could be a camera you could take everywhere, shoot a roll of film for a month, get it developed, and you don't have to edit your photos to put them on your story.
I think what Pentax is really tapping into is sort of that modern generation who are rediscovering film for the very first time. And they're loving it, and it's a format that they can identify with, being that it's vertical. And I think we're going to see a lot of people really enjoying this camera.
Absolutely, Dave. It totally feels like a film camera for the modern generation.
I, of course, want to know what you guys think of this brand new film camera from Pentax, the 17, shooting half frame film. Are you going to rediscover film yourself, or are you going to be stuck in the digital age? Make sure you leave comments down below. Follow us both on Instagram, and please subscribe. This has been Dave and Chris from the Camera Store, and we'll catch you again soon. Hey, thanks for checking out this episode. If you want to check out more of our recent content, click up here. And if you're Canadian and you want to support local, check out thecamerastore.com down here.